Got full custody after my ex-wife lied I was dead and attacked me at a restaurant. A few days ago, I did something, and since then, I've been getting a lot of criticism. So, I wanted to ask you all if I'm in the wrong here. I was married to my ex-wife for 5 years, but we've been divorced for almost a year now. She's 33, I'm 35, and we have joint custody of our 6-year-old son. My ex and I met at work 8 years ago and quickly became a couple. We continued dating even after I changed jobs. 2 years later, we decided to get married, and soon after, we found out we were expecting. Our little family was growing, and everything seemed fine for a while. But as the years went by, the pressure from work and raising our son began to strain our relationship. We couldn't handle it, unlike many couples who managed to push through. The last couple of years of our marriage were filled with silence. We hardly spoke unless it was to argue. Even the simplest conversations turned into fights, and eventually, we stopped talking altogether. I should have seen it as a sign to leave, but for some reason, I kept hoping things would get better. They didn't. In fact, they got worse. Just before we agreed to divorce, we had a massive argument. It was probably about something small, like me forgetting to do the dishes after working late, but it exploded into a much bigger fight. We said a lot of horrible things we were both really feeling. That fight was the breaking point, and we both realized the marriage was over. Thankfully, our son wasn't home that day, he was with my parents. It took him a while to adjust to the custody arrangement, but he's a smart kid and understands that his parents don't get along and that we need to be apart to raise him properly. We had tried to stay together for his sake, but it was better for him this way. At least he doesn't have to watch his parents constantly fight and pretend the other doesn't exist. After we separated, we worked out our own custody schedule before the court finalized anything. We were co-parenting pretty smoothly until a couple of weeks ago, when another argument broke out, this time about our son. She had taken him to the bookstore and bought him some toys and a book that was way too mature for him. She claimed the book was hers and that she had accidentally let him take it home, but it had inappropriate words in it. My son started asking me what these words meant, and I couldn't answer him because he wasn't supposed to know them. He'd read through the first page, which was filled with curse words. While he hadn't picked up on all of them, he sure had a knack for saying the ones he wasn't supposed to say out loud. He was repeating curse words all day now, thanks to his mother's carelessness. I told her she needed to be more mindful of what she was exposing him to, and that's when things exploded. She thought I had no right to teach her how to raise our son, even though I'm his father too. We got into a huge argument, and after that, we stopped talking unless we absolutely had to. Ever since we separated, we only talked about our son anyway. Now, after our latest fight, we weren't even talking about that unless it was about logistics, like pickup times or any health issues. It had been tense and formal, but I was fine with it. We got divorced because we couldn't get along, and if I could handle it back then, I could handle it now. But she seemed to be taking it harder than I was. She blocked me on social media, which I hadn't done, and started getting more aggressive whenever she dropped off our son. She wouldn't look at me, but she'd shove his things at me as aggressively as possible. It was annoying, but I didn't care enough to say anything. We were done. I'm sure she was getting more frustrated because I wasn't reacting the way she wanted me to, and that probably led to what happened a few days ago. I had a work party to attend, and my ex agreed to take care of our son for the night. I was surprised because it was my turn to have him, and I thought she would make things difficult, but she didn't. I dropped him off at her place, and she took him inside without her usual aggression. It was a pleasant surprise. I thought maybe she was finally acting like an adult instead of throwing childish tantrums. After I left her place, I started heading to the party, but 20 minutes later, I got a message from her. She said I needed to come to her place right away because she had something to tell me about our son. I was already running late, so I asked her if it was really urgent. She said it was just a small thing but that we had to talk about it in person and now. I had no idea what it was about, but if it concerned our son, I didn't want to take any chances, so I turned around and went back to her house. When I arrived, I found that she and our son were gone. All the lights were off, and her car wasn't in the garage. The only thing she left was a note on the door that said, "Taking our son's name to meet my new boyfriend. Stay mad." That's when I saw red. I called her, but she didn't answer. I texted her, but she ignored me. I was standing outside her door, looking like an idiot in a tux, and I realized I couldn't let her get away with this, so I decided to do something just as crazy as what she had done. I called her mother, knowing she always kept her updated. I told her that I wanted to surprise her and our son with something special and needed to know where she was. Her mom was gullible enough to send me her location, which turned out to be a nearby restaurant. I knew the place well, so I drove there in a few minutes. When I got there, I saw my son and his mother sitting at a table with another man. I felt anger and frustration rise again. My ex and son had their backs to me, but the guy saw me coming and looked confused. I pulled out a chair and sat next to him. When my ex realized what was happening, she looked shocked, but I wasn't there for her. I was there for her new boyfriend. I looked him straight in the eye and began telling him everything my ex had been doing, from the book with the curse words to her weird aggression towards me and her petty actions that day. She had literally made me skip a work event just to create trouble for me using our son. Her boyfriend looked stunned, and my ex kept trying to interrupt me, but I didn't stop. I kept revealing everything. Eventually, her boyfriend said he had to leave, and he practically ran out of the restaurant. By then, my ex was in tears, and my son looked confused. That's the part one regret, because I didn't want him to feel that way. After her boyfriend left, we stayed at the table for a bit longer. My ex cried about how I had ruined her relationship. Apparently, her boyfriend didn't know she was still co-parenting with me. She had told him that her son's father was dead and that when he wasn't with her, he was with her parents. So, when he found out about me, it seemed unlikely he'd want to come back. For 3 months, she had been lying to him. I didn't feel bad for her. She chose to lie, and that wasn't my fault. She had been playing games just out of pettiness, and now she was facing the consequences. I wasn't going to feel sorry for her. After crying for a while, she lunged at me to attack me, but a waiter stepped in to stop her. Our son was traumatized, and we were thrown out of the restaurant. The police came, and I decided to press charges because she did attack me, and I didn't feel any sympathy for her. She was let off with a warning after being taken to the station, but that only solidified my decision to file for full custody. I even told her about it before blocking her. It's been 3 days since I blocked my ex-wife's number and all of her contact information. I've also spoken with my lawyer and made the decision to file for full custody of my son. I'm not feeling guilty about it. For the longest time, I believed she was at least a decent mom who could share custody, but after what happened at the restaurant, I no longer see it that way. Yesterday, my ex-mother-in-law called me, and I could tell she was furious. She told me that my ex-wife was very upset with me for pushing her to her limit, and now, she was turning it all around on me. She said I was using my ex's outburst to try and take custody of our son. Apparently, I've been awful to my ex for years, and now I've ruined her 2 most important relationships, with her boyfriend and with our son. I told my ex-mother-in-law this wasn't entirely my fault, and if anything, she should blame her daughter for being petty and making me do something petty in return. I'm not the kind of person who takes things that far unless it's necessary. We ended up arguing a bit, and she said it was cruel to do this to the mother of my child and that she lost a lot of respect for me. That one stung because no matter how things went down, she's still the mother of my child. And aside from that one incident, she has always been a good mom. Even in that instance, though, I'm not sure I can call her a bad mom. Sure, she attacked me out of anger, but right after, she immediately checked on our son while the restaurant manager called the cops. She wasn't concerned about me or even herself, so I can't say she's a bad mother, but I definitely call her slightly irresponsible, not evil. That said, I still don't think it's safe for our son to be alone with her. She has issues. First, she lied to her boyfriend about my role in her life for no good reason. If he was okay with her having a son, he'd probably be fine with her having an ex-partner, too. But beyond that, she physically attacked me, and there's all this weird aggression between us, like she can't stand me. I'm worried she might try to turn our son against me in the future, and I can't risk that. He's still too young to understand what's going on. That's why I'm still pushing for full custody. I wasn't sure about this decision at first, but after speaking to my son, I'm more certain. I asked him flat out if he'd rather live with me full-time, and he said yes. He explained that his mom isn't around much, and when she is, he spends most of his time with the nanny. He likes her, but he'd prefer to stay with me. Apparently, his mom would often go out with her boyfriend, and she didn't want him to tell me about it. So, he kept quiet, even though he was upset. When she was home, she'd spend all her time with him in the bedroom, and he'd be left playing alone in the living room. That's what really got to me. So many things could have gone wrong, and I'm grateful they didn't. When she was with her boyfriend, he didn't even have his nanny with him and was left on his own. That's dangerous for a kid, and I could tell he felt neglected, especially when he was at his mom's. That was the final push I needed to file for full custody. At the end of the day, the most important thing is whether my son is happy. If he's happier with me, then that's where he'll stay. It's as simple as that. Even setting aside my problems with my ex-wife, there's no denying she's been neglecting him in favor of chasing her boyfriend. I shouldn't have waited this long to act, and I definitely shouldn't have fallen for my ex-mother-in-law's manipulation. I bet she's just trying to make up for her daughter screwing up and giving me her location the other day. Otherwise, she probably wouldn't have gotten involved, because she's always been pretty detached from what goes on in her daughter's life. She barely seemed to care when we got divorced. I don't care what she thinks or what my ex-wife thinks. Nothing matters more than my son's happiness and well-being, and clearly, that's something my ex-wife isn't prioritizing, so she can just go to hell. Update 1. It's been almost a week since the last update, and my ex-wife was officially served today. My son is still living with me, and so far, my ex hasn't questioned it. But when she found out I filed for full custody, she showed up at my place, demanding an explanation, acting as if this was all a surprise, even though I'd already told her about it. I refused to let her in and threatened to call the cops. She ended up standing outside my yard trying to talk to me. I told her several times there was no point, the petition was filed, and I wasn't going to take it back. She got on her knees, begging me to fix things, promising she'd do better, but it didn't matter. My son was more important than her desperation. After a while, she finally left, crying like a child. I was relieved to see her go. She told me her relationship was over, and now she'd have all the time to focus on being a mom, so my son had nothing to worry about. But by then, it was too late. Our son had been feeling neglected for weeks. She'd made him feel so scared that he didn't tell me what was going on. But eventually, he cracked when I asked him how he was treated at her place. He'd been so good at hiding his feelings that I thought he was excited to go there and would be happy. I should have asked sooner, but I didn't. Now, I realize the truth. Her hysterical behavior today just confirmed I was doing the right thing. She was so out of control, it made me feel awful, and I'm glad our son didn't see or hear any of it. He was napping during that time, so I'm thankful for that, because I don't want to have to explain all this to him. Update 2. My ex-wife and I are scheduled to meet for court-mandated mediation tomorrow. I'm nervous, but I'm also relieved that my son has made his choice. He's still with me, and when I asked him who he would rather live with, he consistently tells me he'd rather stay with me. I've asked him a lot, and I'm glad he's made up his mind. It makes things easier for me, and I don't have to go against his wishes, which would make me feel worse. It's been tough for me. I won't lie, seeing how my ex behaved last time really affected me. Her friends have reached out, telling me how upset she is and asking me to take back the custody request, but I can't do it. I know what she's been doing, neglecting our son while chasing her boyfriend, and I won't allow that to continue. I've already spoken to my lawyer, and we're in a strong position. We have the evidence of her attacking me at the restaurant, the note she left on her door to mess with me, and even security footage of her shoving my son's things toward me aggressively. That wasn't the first time. Even when we were married, she had moments where she'd lose control and act like she was possessed during arguments. It was terrifying, and I don't think she's mentally balanced enough to co-parent properly. This joint custody arrangement was a mistake from the beginning. I should have known better, and now I do. I'm taking my son out of this toxic environment to protect him. Update 3. I got full custody today. My ex-wife still has visitation rights, but they're fully supervised, and I'm fine with that. My son is doing well, and I'm probably the happiest I've been in a while. These last few weeks have been emotionally draining, but I'm looking forward to spending time with my son, unwinding at home, and working from home. My parents are coming over to stay with us for a few days to help out with the chores, since I've been so busy lately. It'll be good for them to spend time with their grandson, and things are going better now.